Hello everybody, welcome to this week's weekly bump. Thank you so much for being here. If you're new to my channel, my name is Jane. I'm super happy to have you guys here. So this week we have 3 piles. I'm doing this a little different than what I normally do. So instead of shuffling with a whole bunch of oracle cards, I figured this week I was in the mood just to do tarot. So we have 3 tarot decks. We have the Rider-Waite for pile 1. We have the Aquarian Tarot for pile 2. And we have the new Palladini for pile number 3. I'm showing the sun card of each deck so you can kind of see which image resonates the most with you. Excuse me, I'm sorry. So some of you don't always feel intuitively drawn, and that's perfectly fine. I always say you can just randomly pick a pile, and usually there's a message in there for you somewhere. But if you do like to feel your way through this, now would be a great time to pause the video and sort of see which image really jumps out at you the most. Okay, timestamps for each pile will be found in the description box and the comment thread down below, like always. All right, see you guys in just a sec. All right, everybody, welcome to pile number 1. So let's go ahead and take a look. So I'm going to just pop this sun card back in here and we're going to shuffle. So we're going to go like this. Okay, so what does pile number 1 need to know for the week here? Temperance, the Fool, Page of Cups, 7 of Coins, 7 of Wands, and the Ace of Coins. So I'm looking at this Fool card, and with the Temperance, it feels like your heart wants to go one way, but then over here you have certain obligations that are kind of pulling you in another way. I feel like this Page of Cups is a little bit of a temptation as well. Like there is a little temptation to go out with your friends, you know, on a Tuesday night, or there's temptation to watch that Netflix show instead of working on your side hustle, or, you know, the temptations are kind of creeping in. I think Mars through Taurus has a lot to do with this, if I'm being totally honest, right? That desire to really indulge and to follow the passion. The one thing about the Taurus archetype that is just really important to understand is that it's really hard to rally for things you don't genuinely care about. It's really hard to do that. Taurus energy, you know, when it loves something, it really, really loves. And when it dedicates, it really dedicates. But if it's something that, you know, falls short or is disinteresting or is not something that really fits your fancy, then it's really hard to get your focus going. And so I'm sensing over here, like there's the regular mundane things that you kind of have to do in life, the things that you're required to do. And then, of course, your heart over here with these major arcana is just like singing, singing, singing. And so you may be experiencing a few of the kind of 2 sides of the scale here with this week, with this energy. It's going to be important to give energy to both. However, as much time as you can bring to the stuff that makes your heart sing, obviously, the better. The Ace of Coins is an indication that something positive or something of high quality is going to be coming in, an offer. Maybe there's some good financial news that comes in. It's usually likely an increase or something good and something beneficial for you ultimately. Now remember, an Ace of Coins, an ace is just a potential. It doesn't mean that there's like a full fortune, you know, like there's an idea, there's a signed contract, there's an initial installment of some kind, you know, there's an initial offer or just talks of something. And it is something that you can grab onto and really run with. But you're hopefully it's something that you genuinely care about so that you can and that you will. But many people in pile 1, though, this may be something that kind of feels like an inconvenience right now because it's good, but you also have this other stuff going on. And the question is, well, how can I even fit in my already busy day? How can I fit this in my life? And kind of an interesting place to be when clearly this is something that's good, but the thing that's good kind of interferes with the things that you kind of are falling out of love with. So you're going to have to kind of come to terms with that and what that means for you in your life, and to ask, well, how do I really prioritize these things? Because right now I'm looking and I don't know that I see you fully sacrificing this stuff yet, right? This is the kind of stuff we all have to do. We all have to do our laundry. We have to go to work. We have to do certain things to live a normal life. So you're torn, and maybe this is the beginning of a decision making, or like a series of decisions, right? The beginning of a decision making process, which will contain multiple decisions, if I could talk, right? So this is kind of like really getting the ball rolling here, and I would say that if this Ace of Coins is aligned with your full temperance energy, again, which is the things that make your heart really sing and that makes you feel passionate, do whatever you can to allow it or to make it fit. Do whatever you can to get it in there, to get it into your daily routine to some degree. Get it in there and get it to the front of your consciousness every day. Feed it, nourish it, care for it, because that's what's going to be needed for this to really grow. And at the end of the day, some of these things really don't have a long-term impact. In fact, when I see the Seven of Wands, I see a little bit of drama. I see people kind of feeling like they have to defend themselves, like they have to stand up for their choices and what it is that they want and what they want to do. And a lot of people who are feeling in their weakened power right now, they're projecting. And when they see someone in their power, especially when they're in their passion, they are going to not feel super great about that, because it reflects back to them where they are feeling inadequate within themselves. So you may feel that pushback, or feel like you need to push back, or you need to justify it to everybody else. So you don't. In fact, you definitely don't. But the desire to do that may be there. To justify your life, to justify your decisions and whatnot. Ultimately, I would say the best bet here is this Zen quality, and just not allow other people to ruffle your feathers. If they see that they can ruffle your feathers, it kind of means they got a little power over you, and they may like that in not a good way, whether they intend for that or not. I don't see anyone having bad intentions, but sometimes it makes them feel safer when they don't see the people they love and care about moving on, right? So you have to be very cognizant of the dynamics. There's a lot of nuance that's going on here, and to be able to really read between the lines, if I could say that, be able to feel in your gut what's truly going on and where someone is really coming from. Okay, so we have the Ace of Swords. See, a lot of potentials coming through. Knight of Cups, beautiful. Nine of Swords. Okay, there's definitely something like clogging up the whole flow right here. And this may happen a little bit later on in the week. I don't like the Nine of Swords because it tells me that there's something to be stressed about, or you think there's something to be stressed about. You think that there's something wrong, or that you could maybe have some control over something that you really just don't have control over. Both Seven of Wands and the Nine of Wands indicate to me that you're clearly like setting a pretty strong boundary, or cutting people off or cutting people out, really protecting someone or protecting yourself, protecting your ideas, protecting all your aces that are coming through. I mean, to me, it seems like everything is pretty cut and dry. We've got three aces, which indicate, again, like I say, potentials of the earth, potentials of the heart, and potentials of the mind. So when the earth, the mind, and the heart are aligned like this, very few interceptions, I guess we could call it, or interjections can be made. And that it's like there's this impenetrability with you, with the Fool, with Temperance. There's an impenetrability here. See, Mars and Taurus, it's so dense. It's so like all or nothing a lot of times. And when you're all in on something, which clearly you are, you've sold yourself on some idea. Now, whether or not you're acting on it or not is a completely different story. Maybe some of you, like, you really haven't acted on it, but your heart is already made up. Like, I'm going in this direction. I'm doing this thing. I'm going to write this down. I'm going to work with this person. I'm going to develop this skill, right? When you have made up your mind like that, it's pretty thick. It's pretty dense. It's almost as though you've sort of solidified your destiny or solidified your fate almost. I know it sounds a little bit kind of woohoo or a little romantic, but really I think you have solidified your fate in a good way. And all the other stuff is just sort of getting in the way right now, and it's stressing you out. Some of you, this may have a lot to do with your jobs. Your jobs, or kind of a relationship that's sort of stale or stagnant, or a certain group of friends. You kind of look around and you're like, wow, I love these people to death, but they don't really match where I think I'm going in my life. And that can be hard to admit. It can be hard to come to grips with. However, you've already come to grips with it. I think you've already had that, moment of honesty with yourself. And it's just a matter now of, like, it's now like sinking in, like, whoa, it's like, this is real. Like, this is me moving on. This is what it looks like. This is what it looks like when I feel empowered and when I feel strong and when I feel passionate. Watch how everything withers behind me to a degree. And I'm looking at these knights. I don't know necessarily that these are your energies per se. I think these are other people. I think these are your Seven of Wands people who are they got something to say about everything, again, good people. I'm not doing any reversals this week, so I didn't really feel the need for reversals when I was shuffling and preparing the decks. But we have good people. I think they're manifested well. But I think they're also content with I don't want to say content with where they are. I don't necessarily know that that's the case. But they are, I think what I'm really picking up on is a stubbornness, which is odd because I don't normally see that with the knights, because they're technically mutable signs, which means usually they're pretty flexible and adaptable. But for them to be causing so much stress and anxiety, like what I'm hearing is just a lot of noise. I don't know that you're going to have the capacity for a lot of people's talking, right? Mercury comes in through Cancer. Like, this is not a time for talking, really. It's a time for feeling. And everyone's life story and everyone's, what's going on at work today. Like, I just don't know that you have the energy to really deal. In fact, I feel that you're going to become more and more inaccessible to most people, that there are only a very select few that are going to have access to you. These may be coworkers. I'm sensing issues with coworkers, or like siblings even. Coworkers, siblings. It could be friends, but probably not your closest circle of friends. Maybe more in that realm that's somewhere between friends and acquaintance, that kind of weird zone there. It's like, yeah, you know them, but you've hung out with them more to call them an acquaintance. Could be those types of people too, that are sort of in your periphery, but not totally in your life. And they are going to have, a lot more social energy. They're going to want to be more social. And I think for you, it's weird that, like, for them, going out and having a drink is satisfying. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just that when you're here and you're passionate like this, you kind of need more than just that. You need more than that. And you're coming to a place where you're really prioritizing this. Like I was saying, you're prioritizing this more and more and more, which means this energy becomes more and more draining and something that you have to really block yourself or protect yourself from. not protect. I don't think this is bad energy. I don't think it's bad. It's just not aligned. It's not aligned with what you have going on. It's not aligned with what you're desiring for yourself right now. And again, the inaccessibility is a pretty strong quality. There's a strong essence of inaccessibility coming through as well. So just close your doors, right? You still have to do these things. I know you still have to do it, but you can do them quickly. Right? You can do things quickly and then come back here, come back to the passion, come back to the thing that really lights your heart on fire. Because likely there are going to be, like I say, this is the beginning of decisions being made right now in a series of decisions that need to be made in order to get you really to where you ultimately want to be. So take it seriously. It's a good time to be really productive. It's a good time to solidify a little bit of a vision. And things really come alive during this time. They really, really do. And I don't see that being any exception for you. So prioritize that and you'll be good to go. All right, let's pull out, I know I wasn't going to do oracles, but let's just do one oracle. I'll do an animal spirit just to close out the reading. One of my favorite oracle decks. And we have the mouse spirit. Well, here I am saying, no, here's the big things, but then we have the small things. Please do not ignore the small things. Okay, please don't ignore the small things. You're still going to have to, because they're foundational, right? Small things are foundational. It's not super fun. Maybe there is a sense of like irritability or annoyance in dealing with those things. That's why I'm saying like get it done right away and then you can focus on the big. Because there's definitely some big picture stuff coming out through here. All right, pile one, I'm going to leave you with that. Thank you so much. I hope you have an amazing week. Talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye. Hello, pile number 2. Welcome to your reading. So you guys selected the Aquarian Tarot deck. So what we're going to do here is just throw this sun card in here somewhere. And we're going to shuffle this for you. So actually, let's go like this here. Okay. So, all right, so we have the Ace of Wands coming out first. Beautiful. Ace of Wands, Justice, Nine of Cups, Knight of Wands, Judgment, and the Three of Swords. Okay, let's see here. Well, interesting that we have Justice and Judgment coming through. I almost feel like whether it's you or someone else, you may be witnessing this in someone else's life. Things sort of coming up for redemption, if you will, or things coming up for karmic payback, or, you may feel very vindicated by something. Not that that's what your aim ever is or ever was. It's just sometimes when you're right about things. And I think that you are going to be proven right about some stuff, whether it's some predictions that you made about what's going to happen, or maybe you warned a friend like, hey, if you go forward and do that, it's probably not going to be the best. And they did it anyway. And now they're going to kind of pay the consequences. Hopefully that's not you. I don't necessarily feel that it's you per se. I'm kind of feeling a more observant quality coming from you, like you're sort of witnessing things in other people's lives kind of go a little bit awry. And it's not really what you ultimately wanted, but it's just like if you knew that if someone or a group of people were continuing down a certain trajectory, that was inevitably going to happen. Excuse me. And I don't know how that's really going to make you feel. I think with the Three of Swords, I think it kind of hurts a little bit because obviously you don't want to see the people that you love and care about go through something like that. However, it's just kind of one of those things where you have to take your hands off and say, well, that was your choice. That's the direction that you wanted to head, and that was the ultimate consequence, right? And for you, I think with this Ace of Wands, you're kind of focusing on things that sort of fill your cups a little bit more. You know, you're focusing on more positive things. Knight of Wands, you're looking at ways to grow and expand, and maybe this week also making certain choices to help make sure that that happens. I think it's probably going to be a productive week for you, keeping your head down, keeping your head in your own business as much as possible. Again, I don't necessarily know that you guys are going to be like, see, I told you so. It's definitely not going to be like that, but it's going to be you just witnessing and watching and say, okay, well, this is why I have to be focused. This is why I have to work. This is why I have to put time in. This is why I have to grow and change and evolve, because if I don't, you know, perhaps maybe something similar could happen to me. And it's not that you're scared or doing anything out of fear. It's because you genuinely want to grow. You genuinely want to expand. And you don't really want to be in that place of having to pay or live in the negative consequences of choices that weren't in your best interest. So it's this continual day by day checking in with yourself, moment to moment, saying, is this in my best interest? Is this in my ultimate good? Is this in, going to ultimately prove to be something that has longevity or can pay me back in the long run, in a good way, pay me back in a good way. So let's see. So we have the Knight of Coins, Six of Coins, Strength, Nine of Wands, Two of Cups, and the Eight of Cups. Let me see here. The Strength is interesting with Justice and Judgment, because again, sometimes it does take strength to just sort of remain neutral to a degree, to remain uninvolved in something, because the tendency to want to jump in and help is usually pretty strong as just being a good human being, right? You want to come in and help, or you want to help save or to help make it better for someone. But again, the Strength, it's kind of like I'm feeling a lot of restraint, actually, really restraining yourself, holding yourself back from doing things that maybe you would have normally done in the past, and just kind of letting everything play out more naturally and more organically without your involvement, and just sort of not taking sides. I don't see you taking sides with stuff. I really don't. Again, here's the Knight of Coins. It's interesting that we have the Knights, because the Knights are usually very, action-oriented. They like to do things, accomplish things, finish things, go places, talk to people. They like to be more productive. They're not interested in like being in charge of a lot of stuff. And I don't know that you really want to be in charge. You don't want to be in a position of leadership per se. You just want to be able to have the freedom to really follow your heart here. So what I'm sensing is actually an opportunity for you to not tangle yourself up. A lot of people may be tangling themselves up a little bit, which is, of course, is absolutely not in their best interest in any way, shape, or form. You remain free. You remain untethered. Interesting that we have Justice with the Six of Coins directly underneath it, because we know that both of these cards have the scales, and both of them are about things coming into an adjustment. That's the thing, is you can't stop karma. You can't stop it for yourself, and you definitely can't stop it for other people. You have to let it just be. And I think the more neutral you can be, actually, the more helpful you can be in the long run, because maybe you can console or whatever, but it's not you trying to fix anything. So, and you're also Nine of Wands, sort of keeping things separate from you. You can have compassion for things, you can have compassion for other people, but you don't have to entangle yourself with them. And I see that boundary being very firm and very strong. And I think as Mars comes into Taurus tomorrow, that energy is going to be really, really, really prominent. It's so critical of like, that's you and this is me. And as much as I would love to sit here and wax poetic about, oh, we're all one and we're all connected and we're all of the same soul, like, yeah, we are, but our humanness kind of keeps us separate a little bit. We're kind of living in this paradox. Yes, we are one, and yes, we are united, but until everyone truly realizes that, right, we still kind of have to operate a little bit separate, because we have to protect ourselves from things that could get us caught in certain traps. So we don't want to be caught in any kind of traps. So we've got this boundary here, which is really firm and strong, which is great. Now, the Two of Cups, of course, we love because it does indicate some kind of at the bare minimum, I always say this is at least a conversation of some sort, at least. In the maximum, it could be, a deep soulmate type of level connection. And it could be anywhere in between there, from just a conversation you have with a client or an acquaintance, or, a deep, meaningful talk about the future with the love of your life. It could be anywhere along that spectrum. So it's possible that you will have a deep conversation with someone that will actually enable you to move on, and perhaps maybe you move on together with someone. For some of you, like you have someone that's really at your vibration. They're really at your frequency. They totally get you. They feel you. They view the world in the same way. And you have the potential both to kind of go and create your own world together. Or maybe some of you, this is a solo journey a little bit, where this Two of Cups is more about like, hey, and maybe this is a conversation about something not working out. Like I don't, maybe it's a client and you're like, hey, I just really don't share that vision. I don't know that I'm the best service provider for you. Or a boss, like, hey, I just want something different with my life. I just don't share the desire to make this company as successful as you need me to, like this isn't where I thrive. This isn't where I ultimately, shine. And I know that I could be more lucrative somewhere else. And so you decide to move on. Especially if someone did something that put themselves or the company or the family or whatever in kind of a tough spot, and it's time to maybe separate and to go separate ways and to leave that kind of chaos behind. Like, especially if you knew, like you had some sort of foresight about something of saying like, hey, if you continue down this road, X, Y, and Z is going to happen. And then it happens and they're all surprised and you're like, how could you possibly be surprised when I already told you, or when I already knew, I can't help you at this point. Clearly you don't listen, or clearly you don't have faith, or you don't trust, or you don't see. So I need to move into a place that is more, where I'm more valued and where my opinions and my ideas are heard. Because clearly it wasn't heard. And so this Ace of Wands with the Eight of Cups, to me, it tells me that there is kind of a new path in front of you. And I think that's the essence of the whole of 2022. And I've been talking about this really actually since the end of 2020, when Jupiter and Saturn conjuncted at the very first degree of Aquarius. Saturn through Aquarius, it is a time of radical change. And a lot of people really, really resisted that change. Uranus and Taurus, it's like we know that something has to evolve. We know there has to be radical evolution. And yet we still sometimes find ourselves clinging to the hope that this past trajectory will still play out in the way that we hope it will. And then when it doesn't, which I think a lot of us are realizing now that it won't, we have to kind of say, okay, now's the time. And Saturn finishing out the transit in Aquarius is a great time to consciously make changes and to consciously sort of radicalize your life a little bit, because when Saturn enters Pisces in 2023, there's going to be a lot of weird stuff that's not within your realm of control, and it's not necessarily going to be the easiest time. Okay, so now is a great time to do this Eight of Cups moving on thing if you feel so called. Okay? All right, kind of a big reading for you, pile 2, but you guys know I love you. I wish you absolutely nothing but the best, all right? Take care. Bye-bye. All right, pile number 3, you guys selected All right, pile number 3, you guys selected the new Palladini Tarot. Let's go ahead and just pop this in here. Then we are going to pull out 12 cards. So let's see. 4, pile 3. Ace of Coins, 2 of Wands, Page of Coins, 2 of Coins, 10 of Wands, Page of Wands. Okay, so no major arcana so far. So there's not any huge like, hey, pay attention type stuff. So this is going to be more just on a regular, everyday, mundane level. I love the Ace of Coins because it does indicate a potential of something kind of coming in. Now, you have to be careful with the aces because sometimes they can just sort of come and go, you know, and they don't, you know, they're just potential. So it doesn't mean you have to grab onto them. But the thing is that with this one, with the 2 of Wands right next to it, I get a sense that it is something that probably has been lingering around for a while and fits into your sort of vision of what you want for your life. It fits in this dream. And it's showing up for you right now as probably in some form of a task. I'm seeing that with the Page of Coins, right? There's some sort of a task that needs to be done, and it's probably not super exciting. It's probably one of those mundane kind of like, you know, setting up a website or getting on the phone with this person and ordering this thing. You know, it's just something normal. But it's critical that you actually take that step and take that leap. As small as it may seem, I think it will have great impact. We have to pay attention right now in Cancer season about the momentum of these new trajectories that we're setting in place. Because right now we're kind of living out in the tail end of past momentum. And we're kind of in that transition phase right now where we know that that past momentum is dying out and it can no longer sustain, and that we must build new momentum with new things. And so we have to consciously do that. Otherwise, the old momentum will continue to peter out and continue to diminish, and then we'll be left with kind of like a really weird limbo land. And we don't want to be in limbo land when Saturn comes into Pisces at the beginning of 2023. So we want these balls to start rolling so that we'll have some focus during 23 and 24, okay? So that we can have some focus. And 2 of Coins, you know, is all about, I mean, well, it can be about juggling a lot of different things and keeping a lot of things in the air. So I know that you're busy. I know you have a lot going on. I know there's a lot to think about. There's a lot to do. 10 of Wands, you may feel a little overburdened by something. And actually the introduction of the Ace of Coins may feel a little bit burdensome, which is unfortunate because that's the last thing that this thing should feel. Don't shame yourself. I know I'm saying should, but don't shame yourself. Obviously, when you have an overpacked schedule already, when you're taking care of kids and you're taking care of a household and you're going to work and you've got pets and you've got, you know, a lot of friends you got to worry about, you know, all the things. Sometimes it's hard, even though this is something that you know that you want. You know you want it. You know it's in line with what you're trying to do. You know it feels good. You know it feels right. And yet still incorporating it as one extra thing that needs to be done sometimes can feel a little bit overwhelming. But remember, the pages are simply about one step at a time. You do not have to do this all at once. In fact, I highly recommend that you don't. I recommend that you just do like, this may be a small thing, but sometimes even a small thing can feel like a lot. So even chop down the small thing into multiple days, you know, multiple periods of time where you can kind of focus on it so it doesn't feel like it's just too much. And I don't want anyone to feel like you're having to do anything that's too much, especially when it's in line with this ultimate dream that you have for yourself. Because it should be fun, it should be exciting. And Ace of Coins is kind of like a promise of like lucrative ventures, you know? We have King of Cups, 8 of Wands, Queen of Coins, Justice, the Tower, and the 5 of Swords. We have a couple major arcana here. So It's interesting to have the king looking at the queen. 8 of Wands in the middle, but the queen is looking away. I'm sensing like someone is, I feel like this is you guys because we got a lot of the coin energy in the top row. This signifies the people watching. The Queen of Coins is focused on, she's got a lot going on over here. Justice with the Tower. You're here, like, I know you want to change something about your life. Not that your life is bad, not that your life is something that you know, are trying to run away from, but I know that you're trying to evolve. You're trying to grow spiritually, you're trying to grow financially, you're wanting your businesses to grow, your families to grow, and that's where your focus is. You're focused on making your life right and good, and you're focused on improvement and enhancement, you know, and you're kind of in your own battles right now. 5 of Swords. You're kind of in your own headspace of like fighting your own limiting beliefs and fighting your own fears and kind of coming into contact with your true value and being able to kind of wrap your head around what that is. Because I think some people, you know, we all to some degree have a very skewed perspective of ourselves. And as neutral as we would like to think we are, you know, it's really, really, really hard to be able to like see ourselves clearly, which is why that mirror effect, why relationships are so critical, because relationships help us to see us in a better light. But you're here just trying to like make sense of things, of who you are, make sense of this gold mine inside of you, and to make sense of your ideas, to make sense of how you can carry something through. Now this King of Cups over here, definitely looking at you, but I see that there's some kind of distance in between. There's some kind of space or boundary or barrier or obstacle or something in between the two of you. It's not to say you're not connected. You know, you could definitely be connected. It could be a lover. It could be, you know, an old friend, someone they're definitely watching you. And I don't mean that in like a creepy way. You know, they're paying attention to you. They're seeing how you're growing. They're seeing how you're evolving. And in a way, I think they're looking to you as some sort of a muse or some sort of an inspiration. I don't think you have any idea. I don't think you have any idea that someone's looking at you. Someone is using you as a source of their own determination. They're not doing anything for you. They're doing it for themselves. But they are inspired because of you. So it's important for you to continue, because you actually really are changing the world right now, whether you see it that way or not. When I say changing the world, you're changing at least one person, and maybe that's enough. You're having an impact on one person. You're having a positive effect on them. They are growing because they are seeing you grow. And so this is how our legacy truly is in our life, right? Sometimes we think of our legacy as, oh, the money that we pass down to our families, right? The generational wealth. Or do we, you know, donate to the local hospitals and the libraries, you know, or like that. Sometimes we think of that as our legacy, the estate we leave behind, right? But truly our legacy has nothing to do with that. Our legacy has to do with the light that we ignite in others. And there is at least one person, at least one, probably more, who like have this, well, the ignition, or have the ignition happening because you are doing what you're doing. So please don't stop. Please don't think that what you're doing is mundane. It may feel mundane. It may feel like just an email you have to send. Oh, it's not really changing anything. It's not really affecting anybody. Oh, it's just a little thing I have to buy. It's just a little website I have to put up. It's just a little this, a little that. Please do not minimize what's really going on. Okay, there's a much bigger picture here, as we see with the Tower and the Justice card. It's a beautiful thing what's happening, because you are creating a better world indirectly simply by being yourself. And so in lies that message of beingness, the power in beingness, the joy in beingness. It's all there. It's all there. It's all present. It's all happening, whether you are intending for it to happen or not. I do think you have a blind eye to it. I genuinely believe you have a blind eye to it because you're too preoccupied, but I think sometimes that's the best way, is to just be yourself. I'm actually getting like a little kind of feeling of emotion coming up a little bit for me, because it's like you're just living your life, and you may feel overwhelmed, and you may feel burdened or stressed or anxious or whatever, and you may feel like, oh, no one cares and no one's watching, and you may feel really underappreciated to some degree, and yet actually quite the opposite is happening. And again, you can't see it, but I think it's designed that way. It's designed to keep you in your life, designed to keep you being yourself, because that is exactly what you need to be doing in order to be changing the world, so to speak. So it is a beautiful place. Okay? All right. Oh, you know what? I just realized that I didn't pull out an oracle for pile number 2. Whoops. Whoopsies, pile number 2, I'm sorry. But for pile number 3, we're going to pull out an animal spirit card. So we're going to do the rhino. See, overcome any obstacle. The rhino spirit. Exactly what you need. There are obstacles here, But that's exactly where your focus does need to be. So you don't need to change that. In fact, that's something that you should be embracing. Okay? All right, pile 3. Hope you have an amazing week. You guys know I love you, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.